Hey everyone, and welcome back to Viral English Zone, the show where we explore the ideas, innovations, and sometimes the controversies that are shaping our world. I'm Emma, and today we're diving into something that's not just a trend anymore. It's woven into our everyday lives: artificial intelligence.
Absolutely, Emma, and hello to all our listeners. Whether you're tuning in from your morning commute, a cozy coffee shop, or maybe you're even letting an AI recommend this episode to you, which, let's be honest, is pretty likely these days.
Oh, 100%. Recommendation algorithms are already one of those things we take for granted, but they're just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to AI's influence. But before we get too deep, Daniel, I think we should acknowledge that AI is a pretty broad term. For some people, it's Siri or Alexa. For others, it's ChatGPT writing their emails. And for a few, it's maybe even self-driving cars or robots in factories.
Right, and that's actually one of the fascinating parts about this topic. AI doesn't just exist in research labs anymore. It's in your phone, your fridge, your online shopping cart, and for some people, in their workplace as a digital coworker. The reality is, whether we notice it or not, AI has become an invisible partner in our daily routines.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Some of its influence is subtle, almost invisible, while other impacts are dramatic and impossible to miss. For example, think about how people used to search for information 10 or 15 years ago. You'd type in keywords, scroll through pages of results, and maybe find what you needed. Now, AI-driven search can predict what you're looking for before you even finish typing.
Or even before you start typing. I mean, your feed on social media, your suggested videos on YouTube, even your because you watched this section on Netflix, that's all AI quietly shaping what you see and, in some ways, what you think about.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because that influence can be helpful, like introducing you to a book you'll love, but it can also raise questions about how much control we actually have over our own choices. Are we making decisions independently, or are we just following the digital breadcrumbs AI lays out for us?
That's where the conversation gets deep, because it's not just about convenience, it's about autonomy, privacy, and trust. And I think most people don't even realize how often they interact with AI during the day.
Right. Let's break it down for a typical day in the life of an average person. Imagine you wake up in the morning. Your phone alarm is actually timed by a smart assistant to go off during your lightest sleep cycle, so you wake up feeling more refreshed. You check your messages, and your email app has already filtered out the spam using AI.
Then you scroll through your newsfeed, and AI has decided which headlines you should see first, probably ones it thinks you'll click on. You order your coffee from an app, and the AI behind it remembers your usual order. By the time you get to work, maybe you're already using AI without even consciously realizing it.
Exactly. And that's just the morning. And we haven't even gotten to the workday, entertainment, navigation, or smart home devices. The truth is, AI has become this silent collaborator in our lives, sometimes a helper, sometimes a gatekeeper.
And that dual role is fascinating because it's not just about what AI gives us, but also about what it withholds, intentionally or not. It can decide what's relevant and what's not, and that's a lot of power for a piece of software to have.
Yeah, and the piece of software part is worth emphasizing, because at the end of the day, AI is still a tool created by humans, trained on human data, and influenced by human decisions and biases, which means the way it shapes our daily lives isn't always neutral.
Exactly, Emma. That's something people often overlook. AI isn't this perfectly objective brain floating in cyberspace. It's trained on data we feed it, and if that data has biases, whether social, cultural, or even political, the AI is going to reflect those biases back at us. Sometimes it even amplifies them.
Right, and that has real consequences in daily life. Think about hiring processes. Some companies now use AI to screen job applications. The idea is to make the process faster and more efficient, but if the AI's training data is skewed towards certain backgrounds or profiles, it can unintentionally discriminate.
Exactly. And what's tricky is that these systems are often treated as if they're fair just because they're automated. People think, well, a computer decided it, so it must be impartial. But that's not how it works.
And we see this in smaller, everyday ways too, like when AI determines what ads you see. If the system thinks you're not interested in certain opportunities or products based on your previous behavior, which might just be a coincidence, you could end up never even knowing those opportunities existed.
Which is why I think awareness is so important. Most of us just accept the technology and keep moving. We don't stop to ask, wait, why am I seeing this? Why was this recommended to me instead of something else?
Exactly. And this is especially interesting in the workplace. I mean, AI tools are now everywhere, from automated scheduling assistants to AI-driven data analysis platforms. They can take away a lot of repetitive, boring work, but they also change how people approach their jobs.
Yeah, it's like we're slowly outsourcing our mental muscle to machines. In some cases, that's great. It frees us up to focus on more creative or strategic tasks. But in other cases, we might lose certain skills because we're not practicing them anymore.
That's a big point. Think about navigation. So many people now just rely on GPS apps, which are powered by AI. They stop remembering street names or learning the layout of their own city. The same thing could happen in other fields if we're not careful.
Right, and in office jobs, for example, an AI might draft your reports, filter your emails, prioritize your to-do list, all great things in terms of efficiency, but it also means you're letting a machine shape the way you think about your priorities.
And here's another layer. AI doesn't just save time, it can also subtly change work culture. If a company uses AI to monitor productivity, track keystrokes, or analyze meeting participation, employees may feel pressured in ways they didn't before.
Yeah, that's the surveillance side of AI, which is a little unsettling. Your boss might not be watching you personally, but the system is, and it's feeding back information that could influence your performance review.
And in some industries, AI is literally making decisions that humans used to make, like approving a loan, determining insurance rates, or flagging suspicious transactions in banking. Those decisions can have massive effects on someone's life.
Exactly, and it raises the question, when AI makes a mistake, who's responsible? Is it the software developer, the company that uses it, or do we just shrug and say, well, the algorithm messed up?
That's a question we don't have a solid answer for yet. But I think as AI becomes more embedded in our lives, we're going to need much clearer rules around accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, accountability is tricky enough when you're dealing with human decision makers, but when it's a machine, it's like trying to point fingers at a cloud. And the truth is, AI isn't acting in a vacuum. There's always a human chain behind it, whether that's the engineers who designed it, the data scientists who trained it, or the managers who decided to implement it.
Exactly. And yet, in practice, when an AI system gets something wrong, a lot of companies treat it like a glitch instead of a real-world problem that affected a person's life. It's almost like they hide behind the technology.
And that's where transparency comes in. If people actually understood how AI makes its decisions, what data it's pulling from, what patterns it's looking for, then we could hold both the technology and the humans behind it more accountable.
Right, but here's the challenge. A lot of AI systems are black boxes. Even the people who build them can't always explain exactly how they reached a particular decision, especially with more advanced models like deep neural networks.
Which is wild when you think about it. We're putting this technology into critical systems, finance, healthcare, law enforcement, and yet we don't fully understand what's going on inside the machine's mind.
And that brings us to privacy, because so much of what AI does depends on personal data. Think about your smartphone. It knows your location, your contacts, your browsing history, even the tone of your voice if you use voice assistants.
Yeah, and we've kind of normalized that trade-off. We hand over our information in exchange for convenience. But most of us don't really know how much data is being collected or where it's going.
Exactly. It's not just about what we give willingly, it's also about what's being inferred. AI can analyze seemingly unrelated pieces of information and make surprisingly accurate predictions about our habits, preferences, and even our emotional state.
That's the scary part for me. Like, you might think, oh, I'm just clicking on a few videos about gardening, but the AI might combine that with your shopping history, location data, and social media activity to figure out that you're planning a big backyard renovation. And then you start seeing ads for tools and outdoor furniture before you've even said anything out loud.
Yeah, it's almost like AI knows what you want before you've consciously decided you want it. And that's where the helpful versus manipulative debate really heats up.
Exactly. There's a fine line between a tool that anticipates your needs and one that nudges you toward choices you wouldn't have made on your own.
And because we use AI so casually, whether it's asking our phone for directions or letting a streaming service choose our next show, we sometimes forget just how much influence it's having on our decisions.
Totally. It's like we've invited this invisible partner into our lives, and it's quietly learning everything about us, shaping our routines, and in some ways, becoming something we depend on without realizing it.
And dependency is an interesting angle because it's not just about convenience, it can also create vulnerability. If that technology suddenly disappeared or malfunctioned, a lot of people wouldn't know how to navigate without it.
Yeah, and that vulnerability isn't just hypothetical. We've seen cases where systems go down, like airline check-ins, payment platforms, or GPS services, and suddenly everything grinds to a halt. It's almost like we've outsourced not just our labor, but our problem-solving instincts to AI and automation.
Exactly, and you can see it even in small ways. Remember when people used to memorize phone numbers? Now, if you took someone's smartphone away, they might not even remember their own best friend's number.
Right, or navigating without GPS. A lot of people wouldn't know where to start. And that's not just a convenience thing, it's a cognitive shift. We're letting machines handle the mental load we used to manage ourselves.
That makes me wonder, are we actually evolving with AI, or are we at risk of becoming overly dependent on it? I mean, technology has always changed human skills, but AI is accelerating that process.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, AI frees up brain power for higher-level thinking. On the other hand, if we don't keep exercising certain skills, we risk losing them entirely. Think about mental math, handwriting, or even remembering directions. These are things we used to do daily that some people hardly practice anymore.
And in the workplace, the same thing is happening. AI tools can draft emails, write code, or analyze massive data sets in seconds. That's great for productivity, but if you don't occasionally do those tasks yourself, you might lose the ability to do them well, or at all.
Exactly. It's like using a calculator for everything. Eventually, you forget how to solve even simple problems on your own. And if the AI makes an error, you might not even recognize it because you're so used to trusting the machine.
That's a really important point, overtrust. We often assume AI is correct because it's smart, but it can be wrong, sometimes spectacularly wrong. And if we're not paying attention, we can make bad decisions based on its output.
And when those mistakes happen in high-stakes areas like medicine, aviation, or law enforcement, the consequences can be massive. That's why maintaining human oversight is so critical.
Right, but maintaining oversight means humans need to stay skilled enough to step in when AI can't handle something, or when it gets something wrong. That's where I think education and training need to evolve alongside the technology.
Yeah, we can't just train people to use AI, we need to train them to understand it. That means teaching critical thinking, data literacy, and at least a basic understanding of how algorithms work.
And maybe even going back to some old school skills. Not because we want to reject technology, but because having a backup plan is always smart. If your GPS fails, you should still be able to read a map. If your AI writing assistant is offline, you should still be able to compose a clear, coherent message.
Exactly. It's about balance, embracing the benefits of AI without letting it atrophy our own abilities.
Yeah, balance is really the key here, because while AI can make life smoother, easier, and in some cases even safer, it can also subtly change the way we interact with each other. And I think that's an impact we don't talk about enough.
You mean like how people are replacing certain kinds of human interaction with technology?
Exactly. For example, customer service. A lot of companies now use AI-powered chatbots as the first line of communication. In many cases, that's fine. It's quick, efficient, and can solve simple problems. But it also removes those little moments of human connection.
Right, and it's not just in business. Even in personal relationships, AI is starting to play a bigger role. Think about how people use AI to draft text messages, choose dating app matches, or even remember anniversaries.
And while those tools can help people stay connected, there's a danger in letting AI handle too much of the emotional labor. Relationships, whether personal or professional, rely on authenticity. If AI is writing your heartfelt birthday message, does it still mean the same thing?
That's such an interesting question. I guess the real concern is whether people will start to forget how to express themselves without AI's help.
Exactly. And beyond expression, there's also empathy. AI can simulate empathy in conversation. It can be programmed to respond in ways that feel comforting, but it doesn't actually feel anything. It's not truly listening in the way another human would.
And yet, some people already say they feel understood by AI more than by actual humans. I've heard stories of people confiding in chatbots late at night because it feels non-judgmental and always available.
Yeah, and in some ways, that accessibility can be positive. It can give people a safe outlet when they feel alone. But it also raises the question, are we leaning on AI as a substitute for real, messy human relationships because those require more effort?
That's the thing. Real relationships are messy. They take time, patience, and emotional work. AI offers a kind of shortcut, but you miss out on the depth that comes from navigating the complexities of human connection.
Exactly. And over time, if AI keeps smoothing over those rough edges for us, we might lose resilience in dealing with conflict, misunderstanding, or even just awkward moments.
And those awkward moments are often where real growth happens. So, in a way, AI could unintentionally make us less emotionally resilient while making us more comfortable.
That's the paradox. It's a tool that can help us connect, but if we rely on it too much, it might slowly erode the very skills that make connection meaningful.
Yeah, and that paradox really shows up when we look at creativity too. AI can help us create things faster than ever, music, artwork, even full-blown stories or films. But the question becomes, if the process is so automated, are we losing the spark that comes from human struggle and experimentation?
Right, because creativity isn't just about the final product. It's about the process. It's the late nights, the trial and error, the moments of frustration followed by breakthroughs. AI can bypass a lot of that, but sometimes the struggle is what gives art its soul.
Exactly. And on a cultural level, we might start to see more and more AI-generated content flooding our lives. Songs, videos, articles, all optimized for clicks, likes, and shares. It's efficient, but it might also create a kind of sameness in our cultural landscape.
Yeah, that's a real concern. AI tends to work by learning from existing patterns, so it often replicates what's already been done. That can make it less likely to push boundaries in the way truly groundbreaking human creators do.
And that's where I think human creativity still has an edge. The ability to take a leap into the unknown, to create something that's not just a remix of the past, but a completely new vision. AI can help execute ideas, but it doesn't have its own dreams or desires driving it forward.
Exactly. And if we lean too heavily on AI for creative work, we risk training ourselves to be more like curators of machine output rather than creators in our own right.
Which could change not just individual skill sets, but entire industries. Imagine a generation of musicians, for example, who grow up collaborating with AI tools from day one. They might approach music making in a totally different way than we do now.
That's actually fascinating because it means AI isn't just changing how we create, it's changing what we create and why. The cultural norms around art, originality, and authorship could shift dramatically.
And there's also the question of ownership. If an AI generates a painting based on thousands of existing works, who owns that painting? The programmer? The user? The AI itself, which legally speaking can't own anything?
Exactly. The legal systems around intellectual property weren't built with AI in mind, and we're already seeing cases where those laws are being tested in court.
And while lawyers and lawmakers are figuring that out, the rest of us are just living in this fast-moving reality where AI tools are everywhere, and our cultural expectations are shifting without us even noticing.
Which kind of brings us back to the bigger question. How do we integrate AI into daily life in a way that benefits us without diluting the human experiences that give life its richness?
Yeah, that's the challenge. And it's not something that's going to solve itself. I think it comes down to intentional design and intentional use. The people building AI need to think about long-term effects, not just short-term efficiency or profit. And the people using AI, all of us, need to stay aware of how it's shaping our habits and values.
Right, because if we just let AI evolve without any guiding principles, we risk ending up in a world that's convenient but maybe hollow, where everything is optimized, but we've lost some of the unpredictability and texture that make life interesting.
Exactly. And I think part of that responsibility is making AI more transparent, giving people tools to understand how it works, why it's making certain decisions, and what data it's using. That way, people can make informed choices instead of blindly trusting it.
And that also means more public conversation. AI shouldn't just be something discussed in tech conferences or research papers. It should be something everyone talks about, from parents figuring out how much screen time to allow their kids, to workers adapting to new AI tools in their jobs.
Yeah, because AI isn't going away. If anything, it's going to get more sophisticated, more integrated, and more capable, which means we need to be thinking now about the kind of relationship we want to have with it in the future.
And that future relationship will probably look different for everyone. Some people will embrace AI as a collaborator. Others will see it as a necessary tool but keep it at arm's length, and some might even reject it as much as possible.
And that's okay, as long as it's a conscious choice. The danger is when AI shapes our lives so quietly that we don't even realize how dependent we've become or how much it's influencing our decisions.
Exactly. It's about awareness, choice, and balance, and also making sure AI serves human needs, not the other way around.
Which makes me think maybe the real test for AI isn't just about how smart it gets, but about how we as humans can stay grounded while using it.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. The measure of success might not be the technology itself, but our ability to keep it aligned with what actually makes life worth living.
You know, Emma, the more we've talked about this, the more I realize that AI isn't really about replacing humans. It's about redefining what it means to live in a world where intelligence isn't exclusive to us anymore. And that's both exciting and a little intimidating.
I agree. It's like we're standing at this crossroads where AI could either help us solve some of humanity's biggest challenges or slowly chip away at the qualities that make us human. And which way it goes depends on the choices we make now.
Exactly. And I think if there's one takeaway for our listeners, it's this. Don't just be a passive consumer of AI. Be curious, ask questions, and make conscious choices about how you let it into your life.
And also, remember that it's okay to step back sometimes. You don't have to automate every part of your day. Some of life's most meaningful moments happen when things are a little inefficient, unpredictable, or even messy.
Couldn't agree more. AI is a tool, a powerful one, but it's up to us to decide how to use it in a way that makes life richer, not emptier.
And I think that's a good place to wrap up for today. We've covered a lot, from how AI shapes our daily routines to how it affects our creativity, privacy, relationships, and even our resilience as humans.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is a conversation we'll keep coming back to as AI keeps evolving, because it's not just changing our technology, it's changing us.
Absolutely. And to everyone listening, thanks for spending this time with us and for being part of this conversation.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave us a review. It really helps.
Until next time, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and remember, the future is something we create together.
Take care, everyone.